So, totally excited about today's episode because number one, I'm getting to interview Ray Higdon, who is another network marketing coach. Him and his wife, Jessica, they have a company called Rank Makers. They help a lot of people the way that I do with network marketing. And he shares his journey in what they did to not only become successful in network marketing, but how they pivoted into coaching because there was a need for what they were doing in building their business. And number two, if you haven't yet visited my free Facebook group called Network Marketing Leads for Life, I always do daily tips, takeaways, and actionable things that you can do to generate leads for free on social media. It's a free group. It's an amazing community. All you have to do is go onto Facebook and just search for Network Marketing Leads for Life, put in your email, answer the questions, and you'll be in the group. So guys, enjoy this epic episode. I know you're going to love it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Welcome to the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Scott Aaron, and each and every week, I'm going to come to you with short, simple, and powerful tactics of how you can grow your network marketing business, brand, bank account, and impact on those around you. And just remember, network marketing is not easy, but it can be made easy with simple steps to create the success that you truly deserve. So Ray, welcome to the program in today's episode. And, I'm excited about, all the episodes, but ones like this in particular, because being now on the other side of network marketing, doing coaching and consulting, and you being in that same space, it's always wonderful to hear how someone got into that space, into that realm of coaching, because there's always a backstory, because they see the glory, but they don't know the story of it. And there are, a lot of my listeners are entrepreneurs and network marketers, but there are some that are not familiar with you and your work. But before we get into everything that Ray is doing now, tell us a little bit about your backstory, about the early years. What kind of background did you have, and how did you get introduced to the world of network marketing?
Yeah. And thanks for having me. Honored to be on. So let's see. I was in real estate and lost everything in 2008 with the real estate crash. So like literally wiped out everything I'd ever worked for my whole life. Wiped out my IRA, my 401k, sold furniture, sold everything I possibly could, and went into personal foreclosure. Also happened to go through a divorce, and at one point was living on my buddy's couch, and didn't know what I was going to do because I'm out of money. I had tried a lot of different businesses. So me and a buddy had started we had bought an advertising franchise that was $40,000, multiple thousands of dollars a month. Literally didn't make any money from that. Had a mortgage business, had a title business, and I had really failed at a bunch of different stuff. And so here I was, no one's hiring, credit shot, no money. And a friend of mine reached out to me and, obviously wanted to, recruit me into his network marketing opportunity. And it really was out of desperation that I got into network marketing. I knew sales, I knew marketing, didn't know leadership or duplication, didn't really know how do you make a network marketing business work. And I just decided that I was going to figure it out. And so started doing a lot of stuff. And this was back in 2009, before many people were using social media to build network marketing. And so I started doing a video a day, started doing a lot of social media, started doing some things that I guess wasn't normal back then. And you may hear my daughter, she's banging on the door as we speak, quarantine life, but she might give up after a while. And so, I started doing things that, doing a lot of social media stuff, as well as all the traditional stuff. I did home meetings, I did, three-way calls, I did webinars, I did, different things. And did end up becoming the number one income earner in that company. But something else happened in that a lot of other teams and then a lot of other companies started saying, hey, how are you and your wife doing this on social media? And again, now it's pretty common for people to use social media, but back then it wasn't. In fact, a lot of trainers, in fact, I think every trainer was preaching against social media back in 2009, 2010, saying it didn't duplicate and things like that. And so we started getting more and more requests from, people outside of our team, which wasn't our intention, to build a training and coaching business, but that's kind of what happened. We started getting requests from different teams, and we even have companies that, think about this. Here we are building our organization, become the #1 income earners, and we have companies hiring us to go on their stage and teach their company social media strategies. And, that's a little wild. It's some companies are more open-minded than others, but, it's kind of wild. It started growing at a rapid pace. In 2016, we realized that, we were kind of, not putting 100% into either, into our team building or into our coaching business. And we didn't feel that was fair. And so we did retire from actively building in 2016 to focus on coaching and training. And that's what we've been doing ever since. So that's a very long story, but that's hopefully catches us up.
No, absolutely. So let's talk about that decision, because I was faced with a similar decision myself 2 years ago. Jumped into network marketing in 2013 when, I think you remember this, Facebook was really peaking. I mean, I remember, I'm not sure if you remember this, but there was a time where on the regular personal page, not the business page, your personal page, you could actually pay $6 and you could boost an organic post and it would go to the top of your news feed. And then Facebook obviously quickly changed that, but it was an open market back in the day. And you see, and I'm glad you brought this up, you see a lot of people trying to do the same strategies from 2012 and 2020. And just like network marketing has changed decade to decade, different things have obviously come from that and have advanced. But like you said, there are the open-minded people that are open to trying new things. And then there's the people that have been in the business for a while and they're reluctant to change, and they're just going to kind of keep teaching the same thing over and over again. So let's talk about that. When you guys started to create that system, the characteristic traits of those companies that were open-minded to you and your wife coming in and training, because you and I both know that a lot of network marketing companies hold their associates and their culture very, very tight to their hearts. They don't like a lot of any outside people coming in. They want to keep the culture there. What was the quality traits of those companies that were saying, yes, I want the Higdons to come in, I want them to train our company? What were the characteristic traits of those open-minded companies?
Yeah. And it's interesting because, if I really drill into it, I don't know that it was just because they were open-minded. I think it was because they were also smart in knowing that their people were on social media and they're going to do, and every company, this is the same. Network marketing reps are on social media. They're going to do things, and they're either going to do them right or wrong. And so I think the companies that realized that their people were going to do it, whether they trained them on it or not, were like, well, maybe we should train them something that actually works and doesn't harm the company and the compliance. And so I think it was more of a more aware companies, really, and that just said, hey, our people are doing this stuff. They don't know what they're doing. It may be hurting us compliance-wise. Why don't we bring someone in who's done it and who's built an organization and created duplication and have them trained the right way to do it? And so it was, and there is open-mindedness to that. But if I think about it, it wasn't like it sure would be nice to teach our people social media. It wasn't that. It was actually, our people are doing it. They're terrible at it. Let's get them some effective strategies that aren't going to hurt the company.
And also duplicate the process in the
Right.
process at the same time.
Right.
So why do you feel And there's the couple things I want to dive into, but this more importantly, because we hear this all the time, the companies that are struggling, that the ones that are reluctant to change, why at this point? Because even from 2009 up to 2020, 11 years, a lot has changed in the profession, the industry, everything. Why are some companies still reluctant to not only change, but getting outside help from people that did it within the entire profession, the entire industry, and have proven the concept?
I mean, it's a lot of times they've been burned. There have been people that go generic, they go train, and then next week they're in a new company and they're recruiting people from your old company. I'm not suggesting that companies just be willy nilly, with their greatest asset, which is their people. But it's the stereotyping that all all trainers are out to get my people and get them into some other thing. And it's interesting to me because people will still to this day, and we've been doing this for quite a few years, but people to this day will still insist that my wife and I have some kind of spot somewhere or some kind of interest in a company. And it's like, I mean, you realize we're an Inc. 5000 company. Like, we make okay money. We don't, you are able to make money outside of a comp plan. I don't have to have, a company comp plan to generate income. We have figured out, how to do that. But some companies, they're just fearful, and maybe they've been burned in the past or heard a horror story once upon a time, and quite frankly, if they have people that understand how to train, which is very different from understanding how to do. So there's a lot of people that know how to do, right? A lot of influencers, a lot of what we call 5%ers that have large levels of desire, perhaps some technical know-how. They know how to do stuff. But they don't know how to train the mattress salesman, the shoe salesman, the soccer mom, the person that's never read a book on business marketing or persuasion or social media. And so if you have people that know how to train and know how to teach people that without assuming a level of influence or a level of skill set or knowledge base, then I think it's fine, to keep it internal. It's just most companies, the people on their stages are influential, but have a hard time distinguishing with themselves and the 95% of the organization that does not have influence. And so that's where, we've been able to create duplication in people that that we're unable to before. So like, if, I remember talking to a company owner and he said, hey, you guys got this, rank makers community. I want to send my 10 of my leaders over there and have them check it out. And I'm like, you can, if you want. I would rather you send me 10 people who have been trying for a really long time, but never created success, because if they just follow what we teach, they will recruit, they will bring in customers. And so like, we're more of how do we impress influencers, but how do we get the little guy that's been trying really hard, that doesn't have influence, that has never had success, but has work ethic? How do we get them into duplication? Because that's the majority of every organization. And if we can do that, then everyone's check goes up.
And I think that's a great point, because that's duplication, and the gap between the people at the top and the people at the bottom widens in a lot of companies. And that's just because, like you said, when someone comes into a network marketing opportunity with a large network, that's a large tribe of buyers that they can promote to. But that person, like you said, that's just getting on Facebook and they have 400 friends. I mean, and they're doing exactly what their upline is telling them, but they're getting zero engagement. They're getting no enrollments. It's, you have to impact people first before you can actually influence them. And those influencers, quote unquote, I love that word, because I think it's a misused word, because influence doesn't mean anything if you can't impact those people first. But I think the beautiful thing about what you guys are doing is you're taking that person that they've been so dedicated to ordering the products every single month. They go to all the events, they jump on all the team calls, but yet nothing has happened with their income. And it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just doing different things and thinking outside the box. Now,
let's go back to when you guys were building.
Mhm.
Even though it's different now, what was the biggest challenge that you guys faced? Even though you had that massive success in the beginning, what was the biggest challenge or obstacle that you guys had to overcome to create that success?
I mean, I think just the willingness to look stupid. And a lot of people don't have that willingness. So I went from, I was successful in real estate before I lost it all. And so I was openly mocked. I had people say, oh, couldn't cut it in real estate. I had people say, oh, he's, he's doing one of those things. Right. So I faced what a lot of people I think face. And it's just, just the willingness to look stupid. I had people make fun of me because I had tried so many different things. I remember one guy over the phone asked me that I knew. He said, how long are you going to be in this thing? And I'm like, you're supposed to say that behind my back, not to my face, but whatever. We're going to make this thing work with or without you. Appreciate you, And so just that I think most people are more concerned about how they look to others than possibly making a difference and making an impact. And so you can't, and now they see, we post something, it gets thousands of likes and comments and all this stuff. And so people see that, but you can't make it to the thankers without going through the haters and the doubters. So we had plenty of haters and doubters, plenty of people that said, it was a dumb career move and all those different things. And so I think just the mindset of just making a real decision of, I no longer care what they think, I'm going to make this thing work. And I think that's probably where most people, where they seek acceptance and approval, which they'll never get, it's making that decision that I'm going to make this thing happen.
And on the flip side of that, what was the one thing that you guys did that created that compounded effect that led to your success? What was the one thing that you started doing that, you did it every day and it started to work, and then you started sharing it with others and it started to work for them? What was that one thing?
I mean, there's really two things that have, created what we've built. One, daily routine. I decided July 15, 2009, that I was going to do a video a day, which I've maintained. I've done over 10 and a half years. Every single day I've done at least one video, most days more than one, but at least one every single day for 10 and a half years without fail. So that was one of three things that I decided to do every day. The second thing was, I'd read a book called Go for No, and I decided I'm going to go for 20 no's a day. The authors of that book, Richard and Andrea, are dear friends of mine now. I didn't know them then. They loved my story so much that they wanted to co-author a book together. So we did Go for No for Network Marketing, which is one of our primary books. And then number three was self-development. That's the one that had different stages. And so the initial was 20 no's a day, a video a day, and self-development. Back then I'm broke, so I'm doing YouTube videos, I'm reading library books. I'm really broke. And then I started, I think in 2010, maybe I started investing. And so I got a coach, and they really helped me. And then I got another coach. And so the two things, absolutely no question, strategies, I guess, are daily routine and investing. Most people are so, they'll buy things, but they're really nervous around investing. So, last year I dropped 100 grand for 6 hours with Grant Cardone. In hour one, lifetime, that'll probably make me $5 million, $6 million maybe, because he gave me a little bit different insight that I'd never had before. And it made me look at things a little differently, had us run a totally different event than we had planned on running. And so like, we've just been relentless at investing in ourselves and improving ourselves. And then we take what we learn and, teach it to our clients and obviously, implement. Most people are way too scared to do what we've done with taking a percentage of earnings and put it directly into self-development. But those are the two things: daily routine, consistency, and investing in ourselves.
I could not agree anymore. It's when I first started, my enrolling sponsor said, listen, I can teach you some things, but if you're going to build this as a business, you're going to need to invest into this like a business. And I had brick and mortar, I made millions, I lost millions like you. I had filed for personal bankruptcy at one point. And, I was a very successful personal trainer and nutritionist. But when I crossed over to actually start competing in bodybuilding, I had to hire a trainer. I had to hire a nutritionist. I had to hire a posing coach. I had a team around me if I really wanted to be my best. And the same principle was applied to when I started network marketing. I hired my first coach 90 days in. I dropped $3,000 when I actually had to call my bank to allot me. They had to raise my limit on the amount of money that I was able to spend in a day just so I can hire this person. And like you, it was game changing. But I also found that was like the one thing that I wasn't being taught within network marketing. I was taught to invest in yourself, read the books, listen to the podcast, go to the events, get on the team calls. But so investing can be looked at one of two ways. Investing time, which is one of the most valuable commodities we have, but also monetary investment. There's a thin line between an expense and an investment. So when someone's looking to invest in a coach, someone like you, someone like myself, whoever it is, and if they treat that mindset wise as an expense and not an investment, two different things happen. And I always wondered why, the power of coaching outside of someone's opportunity is so beneficial because, you don't work with Grant Cardone and his company. You saw and seeked him out and saw something that he was doing and say, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself through him to get something back. So why do you think, and this is not everybody, and I'm not putting this into a little box right here, but there are a great number of people in network marketing, in entrepreneurship that feel coaching is not valuable. That the companies have all the tools that are required, that there doesn't need to be any other outside help. But you learned very early on in your network marketing career that investing in yourself outside would bring something back. So what do you say to those people that really feel coaching is not necessary outside of the opportunity that you're with?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what your goals are. I've never hired a coach to motivate me. I don't, that doesn't compute. I don't need that. But I do it for speed, might I have learned what Grant shared with me in that first hour session over time? Maybe. I might have. I might have learned it, 3-4 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Who knows? But it's there can be little turns of the dial that just skyrocket your understanding and the way that you view things that can completely transform your business. And so I would say you don't have to, right? You don't, and there's a lot of people that have succeeded in network marketing without that. I think one of the battles that network marketers have is that it is so low risk, low overhead. And so they look at, well, it's only a couple $100 to join or $1,000 to join. Why would I ever spend, this amount? Well, what they really should look at is what's the potential or possibility. And there are a lot of people that they arrive at, whatever income that they think is impressive for their company, whether it's, 100,000 a year or a month or week or whatever. And, why aren't there more 10 million a year network marketing earners? And it's only because they're not being coached by people who are making 100 million or $200 million a year. So like one of the guys I worked with for a full year, Russ Whitney, he built a $250 million a year real estate education company from scratch. And so I have no desire to be coached by someone at 10 million a year, 20 million a year. How do we get these 10-figure, people that show me things that I never would have considered? And so I think that's why a lot of people, they reach, million or whatever, and that's kind of their cap, because that's their mindset cap of who they've surrounded themselves with. And so you can certainly make really good money, great money in network marketing. It just depends how fast. And to me, all this talk about money, because some people are like, oh, why is it all about money? It just means you're impacting more people. If you're impacting, if you're making 10 million a year, then you're impacting a lot of people. If you're making 100,000 a year, then you're impacting a lot of people, just not as many. And so if you want to help more people, it's a good thing for you to pursue the generation of more money, because assuming you believe in your product, service, or an opportunity. So it's really, I think too often, if you said to someone, hey, I think you should, hire a coach for that, hedge fund that you started that, carries, $100 million or whatever. I think people would probably say, yeah, that probably makes sense. But I think too often people compare what it costs for them to get in versus what the potential or possibility is. The potential possibility is unlimited, really. If you think about it, it's just people kind of stop when they're at a certain amount because they think that that's good enough for the company or themselves or whatever.
They call it the law of the lid. And,
Sure.
if you put that lid on there, but I mean, what you said was so brilliant, because if you want to make the multiple seven, 8 figures, then you're going to have to learn from someone that's done it. I invested in a mastermind last year, a friend of mine, Chris Harder, who him and his wife, Lori, have built this incredible, multi 7-figure brand outside of network marketing. And I needed to network with other big-minded people. And obviously, coincidentally, my income increased from that, because it just makes sense when, if you treat this business, and this is, I heard this a long time ago, if you treat this business like $150 a month business, it's going to pay you like a $150 business. But if you treat it like $1 million business, it's going to start to pay you those types of dividends. And but I think going back to what you said, if you want to get past that threshold of wherever you are, you want to make more than $100,000 a year, you start coaching with someone that's made more than $100,000 a year on up and on up. And I think that goes to show, obviously people are very familiar with Grant Cardone and how much his empire is worth. So it makes sense that, with where you guys are, you want to take that next level. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. Now, with everything that's been going on with social media, and I've been seeing what you guys have been doing for years, what's the biggest change that you've seen in network marketing as a profession in the last couple of years, now moving into 2020 and beyond, that if people don't start to take notice to this and don't start to change certain things, they're going to have a really, really challenging time?
So network marketing leaders, for the most part, used to operate like sales managers. Like they were walking around, a sales floor with a clipboard, yelling at the people not making sales. And what has happened and maybe Tim Ferriss was the one to kick this off, decades ago or whenever that was, with the 4-hour work week and people not wanting to just grind their whole life. That just doesn't work anymore. People don't want to be in that environment. And so, when we rolled out we've been working with clients, closely since 2013, and we teach them how to create culture, which is how to make people feel good regardless of their level of desire or level of result. And that's in sharp contrast to maybe trainers in the past said, you got to get a check in their hand as soon as possible. Well, that's great if that's their desire. If it's not their desire, then you're creating a toxic environment where they actually will leave. And so it's not intensity of startup, it's longevity of how long are they around the campfire. And so there's been definitely an awakening of how to properly lead a team, because it's much more like the gym owner that is okay with your level of desire, not pushing you to be Mr. Olympia or Mrs. Olympia. It's much more that's the environment that people want now versus the kind of maybe old school hard driving, how do we get you motivated kind of person that is like mom and dad that makes you feel like like a big disappointment because you're not an attorney or a doctor. And so like there's definitely been a huge shift. I mean, it used to be almost every leader we ran into had that red alpha personality hard charger that was burning just as many as they were getting to move. And just, it was just way too stressful and way too hard. It's actually a lot easier if you create culture that is welcoming, that allows people to germinate, that allows people to, hang around the campfire and maybe catch a spark. And so I would say that's, not necessarily around social media, but as a whole of network marketing, there's that. There's also, like you had mentioned, and, in early years of social media, you could just intellectually lazily post your company name, product name, and people are just like, hey, I might buy this stuff. Well, now we know that when their company name and product name is there, they just go to 3 websites, and that's Amazon, eBay, and Google, and they'll find the blogger in North Dakota that says you kick cats and, test on dolphins and you worship Satan. And so, like, now there is, it's still not as high a percentage as we would like to see, but there's a lot more network marketers that actually understand marketing now, whereas they didn't at all before. And that's part of the stigma that we're trying to improve. The stigma of network marketing is overhype, terrible marketing, spamming. And a lot of that just comes not from they know how to do it right, but they're choosing to do it wrong. It's because they don't know what they're doing. And so there's definitely been improvements on teaching people how to properly market on social media.
And it's building that personal brand, because, you can see that the companies actually have to spend less marketing dollars because of the way that their associates and their consumers are using social media, because they're openly promoting the company and the products all the time. But I always remind people the most valuable thing to your business is yourself. People say yes to you. They say yes to what you're doing and how you're living your life. You just happen to have a great product, good, or service riding alongside of you that person can also use as well. But your personal brand is most important. So, Ray, you touched on a lot of different things. And so who's the person that's listening to this right now? Obviously, the demographic of the people that I work with, but also the ones that listen to this, they're entrepreneurs, they're network marketers from all over the world. What message do you want to give that person right now that's struggling? Like you mentioned before, they're following the team leader that's that salesman that's running around with their clipboard and, giving them shit for not closing, not rank advancing. And,
Right.
they're seeing this influencer that puts up a post and it gets 10,000 likes and 80 million views, and most of those are coming from the company they're a partner with, and they're frustrated. What's your message to that person?
Yeah, I would say, it's your business. And this is something that I would say have the personal responsibility to learn how to properly build a business. And some people will take our message and almost become victims to it and say, yeah, I sure wish my upline knew that. We're not saying rely at all on your upline, and that's not being derogatory. If you have a great upline, that's fantastic. It's just not required. And so, this is, pay homage to the upline. This is not an anti-upline kind of rant, but stop requiring your upline to teach you in the manner you need to teach, and you go take the personal responsibility and go learn it. I didn't have, I wasn't guided perfectly, from some, incredible upline. I went and sought out coaches. I went and sought out different books and what I wanted to improve on. And so it's take personal responsibility. And I can tell you, when you start, if you're in a company that has either a toxic culture or just not great training, you're probably going to get chastised when you start doing it a different way. Many of our clients at first were chastised, and still until they started breaking records. And the thing that shuts everyone up is results, not theory. And so don't try to go to your upline and teach them, hey, this is the way we should be doing it. Go prove it. Go prove it. Hit a new rank. Hit new results. And you can't stop people from listening to you when you start creating new results. Nobody wants to listen to you when you just have a bunch of theory.
Actions always speak louder than words. And I
Yep.
always say to people, don't tell me, show me.
Right.
And that's great advice. So before we start to wind down, you've coached with many people over the years, but in the early days when Ray was making that transition from, all the struggles that you had to go through from real estate and bad investing, what was the best piece of advice that you were given early on that you've been able to kind of carry over to everything that you guys have been doing since?
Hmm. Um, Best piece of advice. Um, yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if anything boils down to one piece of advice. I think the challenging of being worthy, I think, struggled from, different childhood traumas and abuse and different things that, you know, um, that I struggled with worth issues, and just knowing that instead of waiting until you have self-esteem or waiting until you have belief in yourself or some level of belief, for most people, arguably all people, that's very fleeting. So instead, do the work. Go do the work without that level of belief required. Go do the work. Prospect people. Know that there are people in your organization that have made money and gotten results from the product without your intervention. So it's possible for other people to do the same. You don't need results to go out and talk to people. Know that other people have been able to make it happen without you having some massive amount of results. A lot of people, they're stuck in a chicken egg scenario where they want to go and help people, but they don't have results yet. And it's like, well, to get results, you got to go help people. And so know that you aren't the sole part of the system that needs to work. The system is working if there's anybody in your company that without your help was able to make money or get results from the product. And so rely on the system, believe in the system. You don't have to have self-belief to get started.
I love that. And it also goes back to, you know, changing your story, people's narratives that they bring into these companies and these businesses, all of the past, everybody's been through some sort of trauma in their life. And I think that there's a lot of people that come into network marketing and they feel no one understands me. No one gets where I've come from. No one struggled the way that I have struggled. And I remind people, you're not that special. There are people that, I've been divorced twice. My father was incarcerated for 2.5 years. I had to file for bankruptcy, lost a house, made millions, lost millions. I'm not the only human being on this planet that had to go through something like that. So it's understanding that at any given time, we can change the narrative to our story to like you're doing now, just living life on your own terms. So I have one final question, but before we get to that, Ray, I want you to tell the community of people that have been following this podcast for the last 1.5 years. You guys do amazing things with rank makers. You guys, you have online masterminds. You have VIP days. Tell the audience, obviously, who you serve specifically, and how they can find out more about what you guys are doing and how you can help them.
Yeah, I mean, there's two main types that we help. We have our Rank Makers community, which is our private community. I go live every single day. I give an action step and a training. And in the last 2 years, we've helped network marketers bring in over 166,000 new customers, 36,000 new reps, and achieve 7,600 rank advances. And so that's for really anyone at any level inside of network marketing. We do have, private coaching and our Top Earner Club mastermind for those making over $100,000 a year inside of network marketing. But those are the two main types. We do have, people in real estate, insurance, and sales that follow our stuff. They just kind of like our stuff and get in there and it helps them. But that's not really a focus of ours. If you want to learn more about, like Rank Makers, our private community, that's at becomearankmaker.com. And, that's our, that's our tribe. That's our family. We get in the weeds with them. We get in the dirt with them. And we have a lot of fun in there for sure.
Love it. And just for the listeners, all that'll be in the show notes. You guys can go check it out. And Ray, final question before we part. What does success truly mean to you?
I mean, to me, I look at, what, at the end of the day, what, makes me feel successful, and it's growth and contribution. So I need to feel like I'm growing, and I mean specifically being challenged. So I have hardcore coaches that I'll submit a video to them, and they're like, "That's absolute crap. You need to do it differently. Here's my notes." Right. So I'm growth for me is literally discomfort. Am I experiencing discomfort and growing, or am I not? Because my number one enemy that I always want to keep at bay is just comfort, or what's the other word? Complacency. Complacency is the absolute enemy. I don't want to be complacent. I want to be, 89 years old and still have some kind of hardcore coach on me. And then the second part, contribution. And contribution means, am I solving the problems of others? Am I helping others? And not out of shame or guilt or altruism, but am I doing something that matters to me and is helping others, in their lives, in whatever manner that looks like. So growth and contribution is success to me.
Very well said. And something that I live by as well is success doesn't look like anything. It's just like impact. It's a feeling. It's felt. You have to feel success in whichever way that feels best to you. So Ray, first of all, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. And this is going to help the community so much because, obviously contribution is one of your core values, and that's exactly what you did on today's episode. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So guys, as always, take a screenshot of wherever you're listening to this from. Find us on social media, tag us, let us know what your ahas and big takeaways were. And again, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you again so much for checking out this week's episode. And if you can, head over to iTunes, search for Network Marketing Made Simple, leave me a 5-star rating, basic review. I would be grateful for all of the support you guys can give me. And again, if you'd be interested in learning more how to utilize LinkedIn to grow your business, your brand, and your bank account, head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the form for your free 15-minute discovery call so I can learn more about you, your business, and how we can work together. And again, thank you guys so much. Grateful for you all, and I'll see you next time.